Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. It is a Friday edition Roto Grinders Daily Fantasy Fix podcast. We're presented to you by our friends at FanDuel, and I am Dan Bach. Joining me today this Friday, we've got Big T44. Tony, what's going on, man? Believe it or not, this is my final podcast of the year. I'm giving myself a break the final week of the year. So this is it. You and I hopefully winning people all the money this week.
No question. And you got to give yourself a little time off too after the trips, after the golf. I mean, after the hard year too. I mean, you worked hard all year. I mean, I don't know how many podcasts you did over the year, but at least what? I mean, you have to average at least four a week, I would guess. I mean, over the course of the year, right?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of podcasts, and it's been a grind because we added so much new content here to RG this year that it's been an awesome year for us. But I just need a little bit of a break. But in podcast tradition, I don't know how long you've been listening, Tony. I know you listen to the radio show a long time, but ever since I've been doing this podcast since 2012, I bring my kids on the last podcast before the Christmas holiday. So you will get the 7-year-old, you will get the 4-year-old, and you're just going to have we're going to have conversations with little kids here on the show, just for something for them to look back over the years to go back on. So it's kind of been a tradition with the podcast. So I'm going to keep that alive here today. So we're going to do that a little bit later on in the show. Obviously, we're here to help you out with NBA on this Friday night. And they didn't make it easy on us. 14 games tonight. Tony, I hate these slates. I absolutely hate them.
I seriously might take the night off. I mean, it sounds crazy when there's that many games, but it's around the Christmas time. I got stuff to do. And, I mean, 14 games is just – you can literally have a perfect team and not win some nights just because there's just too many options out there, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be playing because I've got this podcast. I've got 5:30 Grinders Live today. So if I'm, doing content – to that magnitude, I have to play. I feel like it's just completely wasting. Now, will I play maybe a little less? Probably. Because here's the other thing that's thrown me for a loop, Tony, is this Saturday NFL. I just realized I was put in a couple of dummy lineups into the old Millie Maker over on DraftKings today, and I was like, oh my goodness, this locks tomorrow. I'm so used to having that buffer of Saturdays to do some extra content or do some extra research to build some lineups. And I realized tomorrow morning I got to do XM and then I hit the road for, the Christmas holiday. And I still have a slate of lineups that I still have to build. So the Saturday NFL's thrown me for a loop.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. And then, I mean, even with the holiday, I'm assuming you're playing some NBA on Sunday with the Christmas slate. I mean, that's one of the funnest slates of the year to lock in. That's a good thing about the lineup lock, even though you could get screwed with some injuries with the later games, but it's just awesome. I love it to lock in early and kind of hang out with the family and watch games and sweat your action during the day. That's one of the funnest things. I mean, you got Thanksgiving football and Christmas NBA has always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm really worried, though. Not an overly religious guy, but my family is. And, we're probably going to go to Christmas Eve service. And I think that service is kind of late afternoon, early evening. Imagine if I'm in contention for the Millionaire Maker.
Church if you're in contention. I mean, it's not a normal Millie Maker field either, as we all know. No. $1,500. If you're in contention, you're literally in contention in this thing, and you can't be sitting in church with $1 million sweat. I mean,
well, maybe I should be sitting in church. Maybe that's the karma I need to actually win $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into it and that's good karma. But if you're just there just to be there, that might be bad karma. Who knows?
Yeah, no. I mean, the weird thing is not so much it's going to be you know how we sweat, we're invested. I'll be on my phone during church. What's more insulting, being on your phone during church or just not going to church? Probably being on your phone in church. See, my biggest dilemma is I can spend an hour without worrying about it, unless unless that final game comes up and there's swaps that need to be made. That's my worry. Like, imagine if you've got to make that CSU Ram call at the last second and deciding whether or not you want to switch defenses or not to potentially bank $1 million. And, suddenly, it's time to walk up for communion or something like that. Like, it's a dilemma that I've never really had to deal with, but I might have to deal with it on Saturday. So
I was going to say, it would be a good problem to have to figure out the answer to. I mean, I'll even go in for the communion or whatever, if that means I get a sweat about it.
So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully this is a problem that I have to encounter, and I'm not sitting in 1,000th place or something like that and completely out of it. So we'll see. But just a different dynamic this week for the NFL. And you're right, though. The NBA slates are great. Definitely jump in those. I know both FanDuel and DraftKings are running pretty big tournaments for those days. And you're going to kind of be on your own because, I'm not making anybody do content Christmas Day. That's kind of like Grinch Scrooge type behavior. So I'm not going to do that. So I think outside of like the projections, which probably will still be both automated and updated just a little bit, you're going to be on your own. No Grinders Live, no nothing. So no podcasts. Good luck on Sunday with that. All right, let's get into tonight though, because we got a full slate of games. And again, we record this around 10 o'clock. So therefore a lot of the news can change somewhat, because the thing you got to remember is you got a lot of teams playing again on Christmas Day, which, it'll be like a third and four nights for a lot of these teams because a handful of them played yesterday. And what was that? I heard a cha-ching. Okay, what is that? What is that for? What is the cha-ching for?
That's pretty funny that came on during the show. That was pretty good. But that's when the giblets come in on the Venmo app.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody just sent you some cheese. I love it.
That's hilarious that sound came on while we were on. I better turn the sound off on my phone. We can't have that noise keep going off.
Listen to that, Tony. Just collecting money at 10 a.m. on Friday. I love it. That's how you roll, Big T.
That's what happened with those reverse line moves last night. That Eagles game, I mean, the world was on the Giants, and that line just didn't agree with it.
Yeah, that one I didn't even agree with the line at 2.5. I thought the 2.5 was fishy. Like, I thought the Giants with everything to play for still, and the Eagles with nothing to play for, they would have been like maybe even over 3.5, 4.
Yeah, before I even look, I always try to have a number in my head before I look at the numbers, and I thought it would be over a field goal for sure. I mean, Philadelphia's been a disaster, and the Giants, like you said, have been one of the best teams in the NFC, but once the line moves the other way, like it's just all engines a go, right? You got to take the Eagles.
Exactly. Like when you're like something seems off, and then it keeps going that way. And I read a really interesting article on, I think it was Sports Insights about this. Somebody messaged me about it yesterday. Was like you said, there was like 10x more bets on the Giants yesterday. Yet the line moved the other way, which basically is an indicator that a lot of the smart money, professional guys were going heavy the other way.
In primetime spots too, like that, where it's like a featured game, like big time game with a lot of action, and it moves like that. I would love to see the percentage of times it hits. I bet it's well over 70-75% in the big time spots like that.
Yeah, I noticed that too. All right, let's get to tonight's NBA slate. Again, quickly, we're going to look at if you're not using the Notorious's first look column on NBA, that's just a great starting point for the night. Gives you all the game totals, all the team totals. And one of the things that I think is always interesting is, and I've talked about it here on the show before, is what the expected team total is compared to the season average. So basically, obviously you can kind of look at pace, and that'll give you a similar indicator. But sometimes there are those things that really stand out where like a team is in such a better position than they normally are. And the one that stands out for me today is Orlando. They get the Lakers tonight. Normally on the season, they're averaging 98 points per game. Tonight, their implied total is 108.8. So you're looking at a 10-point higher team total for the Magic tonight. than they usually score on their for their season average. That's a lot. Like, it's usually pretty decent when it's around, over 5-6 range. But when you get to 10, that's a game changer for me. So that's something to certainly take note of here. And the interesting thing is, you look at the Lakers, they're actually only down 1.5 points. So you got one team up 10, and the Lakers only down 0.5. So Orlando, look for them to have a huge upgrade over kind of their baseline performances usually this season. The few other teams that are up here today, we've got the Hawks at 6.8 up over Denver on their season average. You've got the Nuggets in that same matchup, 5.3 up against Atlanta. So that game definitely could have some shootout potential. And the Pistons against Golden State tonight, they are up 5. The teams that are down, the biggest one on the board today, and this is almost as big as Orlando is up, actually bigger, it's the Toronto Raptors against Utah. 100.8 season average, and 112 season average, and a 100.8 implied total today. So they're down 11.6 against Utah. Rockets down 8.8 against Memphis. Portland down 5.2 against San Antonio. And then the last one, Golden State down 7.9 to Detroit. So those are some of the kind of pace and numbers to kind of look at as we move into tonight's slate. All right, let's start at the point guard position, Tony. And, again, lots of news is going to break here today. I know Tony Parker is already out, so there's a little bit of news. I think Pau Gasol, I don't believe he traveled with the team either, so he is going to miss. I think Ginobili is missing. So you're going to have a very, very thin San Antonio Spurs team tonight in that matchup versus Portland. Chris Paul got a little bit dinged up yesterday with a hamstring injury. They're calling him day to day, but let's start with that one, because I think there's a good chance he doesn't play on the back end of a back-to-back. I'm pretty sure, let me double check here today, but I'm pretty sure they play on Christmas Day. Let me see.
You would think so.
Yeah, you would think so. And that's the whole thing too. And that's why I think we could have more people sit out today, is because nobody's going to be sitting out that main, featured Christmas slate that we have. And Clippers, yes, they play the Lakers in the nightcap over there. So I think Chris Paul's probably going to sit today. And I think that squarely puts Austin Rivers as just a top target today. And it's weird to say that because I don't think he's particularly good, but somebody has to score, and he's one guy who definitely can get aggressive shooting.
Yeah, that game is really interesting. I mean, Chris Paul last night too. Speaking of Chris Paul, he just destroyed my teams. I mean, I was right on the pay line, a full quarter left. Everything's looking beautiful, and then none of the Clippers play the entire fourth quarter because Paul gets hurt, and somehow the bench just plays really good and keeps that lead. So just full-on disaster at the end of that Clippers game. But back to tonight, I mean, I think Rivers might be in play, but the board is so big that this game just looks really ugly to me.
It does.
I mean, I could see the Clippers just laying a major stinker tonight. I mean, who's gonna create for them? I mean, Rivers is good, and it's tough on a 14-game slate for me. But Rivers at 4K on FanDuel, definitely in play if you want to play it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm looking. I mean, I agree with you. This is a really bad spot overall. I think it's an ugly game. But at 4K, you're just trying to, somebody can still score you 30 fantasy points in this one. And I don't think it's an impossibility for him to be that guy here tonight because, again, he's
a late-night hammer, too. They're only late games. So I like that late-night hammer look. So you could be onto something here.
Yeah, so he's at 4K tonight at the shooting or at the point guard position over on FanDuel. Some of the other options for us, I mean, Cleveland gets Brooklyn. Now, again, we didn't talk about those totals simply because there's no line in this one. But Brooklyn, we saw again last night against Golden State. They actually put up a fight for about 3.5 quarters and allowed the Golden State guys to kind of basically make value in that matchup without Draymond Green. What do we think happens here with Cleveland? I mean, again, it's really early. We're projecting. Do you think somebody sits here against Brooklyn with them playing Golden State a 3rd and 4 nights on Christmas Day? I mean, I think they have to. I really do. Like, LeBron's getting way too many minutes on those tires, and I know that he's a beast, but I don't know, man. I'd be surprised if, especially with there not being a line out right now, seems a bit suspicious there. I love Kyrie if he's playing, but I'd just be a little bit worried. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're better than me with projecting the time off, but I think they all play just to get in rhythm. They're excited for that. I think the reason the line's off the board, first of all, is just Kevin Love. I mean, he missed the last 2 games. I could see Love missing another one just to be full strength going into that game, but I can't see LeBron or Kyrie sitting. I mean, they're in good form. They really want to get up for this game on Sunday versus the Warriors. Obviously, the biggest game of the year, a rematch of the last 2 finals. So I think they play, but, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if any of them sit versus Brooklyn. So it's just a wait and see. And, I mean, this would be the value game of the day. Say somehow LeBron, Kyrie, and Love sit. I mean, you almost have to play the entire game. It changes the whole slate if those guys are out, obviously. I mean, Brooklyn's the best team to target in the league, in my opinion. I mean, they run, they gun, they don't play defense, no rim protection. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. That's another thing about this slate, like, talking this early in the day, like, all it takes is one team sitting guys and the entire slate is different. So it makes it a little challenging this early in the day. You're usually all over it, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if these guys sit.
Yeah, and it's a very winnable game for them. And what I kind of hope happens is, like, LeBron sits, Love sits, and maybe Kyrie play. I mean, Kyrie's been playing really well here. I mean, he kind of went through that lull, but you look at the last 3 games, 55, 39, 50 fantasy points, and double-digit assists in 2 of the last 3, and he had only double-digit assists in 1 game prior to that. So he's starting to kind of play that point guard position a little bit more and facilitate a little bit more. And as a fantasy, from a fantasy perspective, that's really what we love to see. But the shots were certainly falling 11 for 17 in that last game against Milwaukee. And if he's in that lineup at 7.5 on FanDuel, that's just too cheap for that matchup. Now, there's also a chance this game could be a blowout and those guys aren't playing the fourth quarter. So that's a definite risk there. But he's just too cheap. Like, I think you can play him probably in cash and in tournaments.
The dream of all dreams is that LeBron and Love sit, and somehow Kyrie plays by himself. Without J.R. Smith, too, I might add, him out. Like, wouldn't that be fun just to watch Uncle Drew play Brooklyn by himself and just try to get like 60?
He probably would, too, man. Like, that's what he does. I mean, I could see it. I could absolutely see it.
Really good the last 2. He had that quote before the first Milwaukee game that, like, this is a little playoff run for us. We're playing Milwaukee twice. They already beat us. Then we're playing Golden State. I really, truly think they looked at this 2 weeks as like a statement, and they really amped it up, and then they're going to kind of back it down after that, which we need to take notice to. But I really think that they want to get it going, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them just pace Brooklyn tonight.
Yeah. Me either. We'll see what happens. We've got Westbrook on the slate. He is at 12-8 tonight. Boston, there's a chance that they throw Avery Bradley on him, and he's a top-flight defender, but Westbrook is pretty much matchup proof. You throw in the fact that we are not going to have Oladipo here, and he's another 60-burger waiting to happen tonight. And the thing about it is, on a 14-game slate, Tony, there's going to be ample value to fit him in there. So he's not going to be hard to fit in. But then on a 14-game slate as well, rarely do you see somebody like 50% owned. So if somebody really wanted to take a stand and go heavy on him today, you might get him at a little bit lower ownership than normal just because there's so many options there today. But he's probably still going to be the highest owned guy on the slate today against Boston. And, he's a stud. So doesn't take much to talk him up. Curry against Detroit here. Didn't play great yesterday. I'm not sure if you watched that game. I watched a good bit of it. And didn't play great yesterday, but still kind of got there. His salary is dropping $8,100 or $8,700 on FanDuel and down to $8K on DraftKings. I know Detroit plays slow, but still weird getting Steph Curry at 8K. What do you? I know you're not really a Curry guy, but even you can look at a salary and be like 8,000 for this guy. I mean, that just feels cheap.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it was yesterday too, and I was all about Curry. He looks too cheap. I agree. I mean, but then you look at his box scores, and it just doesn't look right. I mean, I don't know. Games 27, 28, 31, 35. Like, are we still basing it on like the old role he had as being like the head guy, shooting the ball a ton, and not really factoring in Durant? When we think about Price, I mean, maybe he's closer to an 8K guy than a 9K guy now with the way the team is set up with so many guys. I mean, maybe I'm not saying it just because I'm not a Golden State guy either. Like, I'm just looking at his box scores for the whole season. He looks more like an 8K guy than a 9K guy to me.
I think on DraftKings, I don't say have to take him, but
it makes super hard to fade at 8K for sure with the bonuses and everything. Like,
yeah.
With definitely the bonus, easier to fade on FanDuel at 8,700.
Yes, you could easily make that fade on FanDuel, and it might even be the right play to make that fade on a FanDuel. But on DraftKings, I got a tough time, passing on him there at that kind of price point. Let's see. You could go down if you wanted to. Let's see where he's at. He's not even cheap enough. I was going to say, we talked about the big upgrade for Orlando. Elfrid Payton was only one of, I think, 2 or 3 guys who played over 30 minutes last game. I don't know why they start Augustine or are playing him at all. Like, he's not good. Just put Payton back into the starting lineup. Like, I get the Biyombo because defensively he's so far superior to what Vucevic is, and you've got Vogel as a defensive coach. I get it. I don't get it at all with Payton because I don't think Augustine's like that much of a better defender. I don't see what he brings to the table. But that's a pace-up game. But he's 6.2 on DraftKings, 5,900, or 6.2 on FanDuel, 59 on DraftKings. So a little bit more reasonable there. One guy who's really priced down on DK is Damian Lillard. He's 8K over there as well, 9K on FanDuel. But that another guy who gets the Spurs tonight. But this is a really banged-up Spurs team. And when you take old guy Ginobili, Parker, and Powell out of the equation, they're going to play a little bit faster. Seems interesting on DraftKings for 8K.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you just said, Curry's 8K and Lillard's 8K. So, I mean, one of the tough decisions right away would be between those guys if you're looking that direction. I mean, it's just such a big slate that you almost have to decide to go with, just say, for example, those two or Westbrook at 12.8 plus a 3,500 type guy. So, I'm always going to side with like Westbrook and Mac over Lillard, and I mean those two middle tier guys. I mean, I guess it's a little different on FanDuel because 9K and 8,700, but on DraftKings you could play a 3K guy with Westbrook and kind of meet in the middle. But which side do you fall on that?
Yeah, I think it's playing the 8K guys, to be honest with you.
Just because they're so cheap.
Yeah, and potentially the matchup isn't great. I mean, Bradley is a legit defender if he gets up for it. And when you say like he could slow him down to 50 fantasy points, and like if he gets 50, you're fine. It's just when he gets to 65, 70 and you don't have him, you feel like you're screwed. So
crazy to put it that way, though, that you could play literally Westbrook and the worst guard, a 3K guard, or you could play Lillard and Curry. Like,
I know.
How do those prices line up? It doesn't even seem like it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the argument could be made if there's no Kyrie and you go to Iman Shumpert or somebody like that who I don't even know if he's even a 3K guard anymore.
He's down there. I mean, I don't know if they cranked him up, but he's been there. I've been playing him almost every time at like 3.5 or 3.7 or whatever he is down there.
Yeah, he was 3.5 the other night and didn't do too bad. Okay, give me one or two off the board point guards. I got one I really like, but I want to see yours first.
I mean, I got a tournament guy for sure. I mean, I would never play him in cash, and he's super risky, but I like the Nuggets. I mean, I always like the Nuggets, but Moutier at only 4.9K seems too cheap for me in tournaments. I mean, obviously he's super risky, and he could get you like 8 points, but 4.9K, he's definitely capable of 35 or 40 fantasy points. So, I mean, the upside is there versus Atlanta. You have one of the highest totals of the night at home. I mean, a Friday night in Denver right before the break. I mean, it should be a good game environment for the Nuggets. So, Moutier at 4.9, I definitely like.
Now I'm a little worried about the minutes cap on this guy, but I think Reggie Jackson at 5'8", over on DraftKings 5,400. I mean, we saw Jeremy Lin last night go for, I think, a 50 burger on DraftKings, or at least close to it. And Jackson's a guy who I feel, again, he's been hovering around 25 minutes. He did have a 29-minute game in there. I feel like, he's in this kind of pace-up game. This is the type of game he likes to play, up and down, lots of shots. I don't hate him kind of in the middle tier today.
Yeah, I like it. I wish we would hear some sort of like he can play 30 minutes or even if you knew he was going to play 30 minutes for a fact, like he would be really, really good play. 'Cause he's going to get you at least a point per minute versus Golden State, you would think. Up in pace. If Golden State gets a little lead, they're going to run and gun. I mean, they have no rim protection this year, as we all know, for the most part. So he's going to be able to get to the rim and get what he wants. So I like that call. I mean, even in a minutes cap, like if they said he's only going to play 28 minutes or something, I think in tournaments there's still upside at that price.
Oh man, there's just so many guys. I mean, I was like, oh, Mike Conley against Houston. I mean, at 6K only on DraftKings, maybe not on FanDuel. But
what's your strategy in these just massive? I mean, you have to just eliminate full games, don't you? I mean, no matter how many good plays there are, like. You're going to fade good plays. It's impossible not to. I mean, even if you're a multi-enter guy, you're still going to have to fade guys. Like, there's just too many good spots.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fun for cash games for sure because you get a situation where you're probably not going to have as much overlap as you might on like a 5-game slate last night. Like, there was still a lot of overlap in cash. Today it could be all, even with obvious value out there. And like, let's face it, Julius Randle doesn't play today again. I mean, Thomas Robinson did pretty darn good in his absence. Last night, Draymond, I bet he plays today with this game in Detroit. That's kind of where he's
chatting last night. So he's in for sure, I think.
Okay. Yeah. And he's a guy who, when he sat yesterday, we saw Zaza had like a monster game, which is just crazy.
That was and he was like a lot of the big tournament people had him in there too. And I had never even considered him. So like, it was a good play for sure last night.
Yeah. I went
someone underneath. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes. I went actually Mozgov. I picked Mozgov as my kind of punt Euro center last night. And he wasn't horrible. He wasn't horrible last night, but Zaza was certainly.
Zaza put up like 45 or something.
Yeah, it was a big night. It was huge.
Just ridiculous.
All right, shooting guard tonight again. Keep your eye out. I always play Jamal Crawford, and he always sucks. But
I'm the same way. I'm not doing it anymore, though.
Man, but imagine tonight, no Chris Paul. Like maybe, but Dallas is a mess of a situation. He's 3.5 on FanDuel. Like that's just dirt cheap. Dirt cheap.
It's painful, though.
It's painful. It is painful. Again, we talked about Shumpert. Keep your eye on that situation. I think he's kind of interesting regardless at 3.6 on FanDuel. He is looks like he's 4,200 on DraftKings, so they jacked him up a little bit more. But at 3.6 on FanDuel, he is in play. Kyle Korver, did you see that tweet I put out yesterday or 2 days ago? At halftime, he had like 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 blocks. 4 blocks for the white guy out of Creighton yesterday or a couple of days ago. He's 3.8K against Denver in a pace-up game. I don't hate him in tournaments as well. Obviously, on the high end today, you got James Harden. What about this matchup versus Memphis? Is that just like on the road? Is that just like 11-4 on him on FanDuel? I think I can pass on that one. What do you think?
I've just shifted my thinking at shooting guard, and everyone always plays Harden. I just play Giannis. Giannis is cheaper, and I just love Giannis right now. Like, his upside is huge. His floor is huge. And you get that little bit of discount, and he's always less owned than Harden. And I don't know how, but they literally have played the same day like 90% of their games. Like, they play the same day every day because – it's always like the little hidden gem below Harden. Like, Giannis is never – like, there's no way he's high owned tonight on this slate, and he's probably my favorite play on the slate versus Washington.
Yeah, I'm looking at the RG projections, and we got to call a spade a spade. We've got him set at 34 fantasy points right now, and he's been under that. He's been at that number or under that number, I think, like 3 times all season long. Like, there's no way his projection should be like 9 points less than James Harden tonight.
I mean, is the minutes messed up or something?
I don't know, man. I don't
34. Yeah, like, is that real life points?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know the situation. I don't do projections. I'm just reading the sheet. So
might just be an early in the day little glitchy poo in there.
I think so, because you're right. He's like lock and load. His floor feels like 45, not 34. And Bradley Beal, again, he's unguardable. It doesn't really matter because nobody can guard this guy. He's sick, and Washington's a team that, this is slight shootout potential here. We didn't even talk about John Wall over there, but we saw Kyrie light this team up the other day. There's no chance. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to do it. But other options for us here. There's not I guess like in the middle tier, there's not a lot to look at. I don't think. I don't want DeRozan against Utah. That's just an obvious easy fade for us today. McCollum versus San Antonio, again, not really a spot I'm looking to play. And I'm not, Hoop isn't here, so we don't have to worry about him, talking up Bradley Beal today. But 7.2.
Not versus that length. This is a bad matchup for Beal, I think.
Really bad matchup for Beal. So I'm not interested there. Batum and Wade, meh. It feels like, if you're stars and scrubbing it up today, you're either starring it at this position or, you're going to the cheap seats a little bit, because I'm not seeing a lot in the middle tier here. Anybody, Clay is okay at 6'3", I guess, got some upside, but I don't know. Anything stand out for you here? Anything?
In that middle range, yeah, there's not a ton. I think Fournier has been playing a lot better, and he gets the Lakers, so I'm definitely interested in him. Him and LaVine would probably be the 2 guys in that middle to upper range that I'm interested in. Even Booker. Booker finally had a good game. After we talked about him the other day, I think. Might not have been me and you. But on one of the shows we talked about Booker, and he had a good game the other night. So I don't mind him, but it definitely looks like a star. I'm almost positive I'm going to have Giannis on my main teams. And then, like you said, guys like Shumpert, guys like Redick, guys like Crawford. In the cheap seats, Corver. I'm just going to go stars and scrubs almost for sure at this spot. Another guy that looks really good in the lower range is Gary Harris at 4.7. Another Nuggets guy, but he's worked his way back in the starting lineup, and he's been getting good minutes. They had a rough game the other night versus the Clippers on a back-to-back. But the other 3 games, he got over 30 minutes and had good games. So I think he's too cheap. I'm guessing he's going to be pretty popular tonight too.
Yeah, probably. I think Booker against Philly, that's the guy right there. I'm glad you brought him up, because he and even in that same game, Brandon Knight's been playing better. Still, the minutes aren't great. But the price on him is kind of in that 4K range. Probably prefer Gary Harris over him with the matchup that he gets here tonight. But I think Booker, that's the middle tier guy that I want to use at shooting guard today. All right, let's get to small forward. And again, LeBron James, we'll see if he ends up playing tonight without Kevin Love. He's been, against Brooklyn. Gosh, who knows how many fantasy points he could go with. But we'll see whether or not he ends up playing here today. Durant against Detroit, priced down a little bit at 9.7 on FanDuel. Fine with him on the upside. That game, back end of a back-to-back. I'm not overly worried about it with a guy like him. And the price isn't killer. Jimmy Butler at Charlotte tonight. I know you're a big Butler guy, but he's been a bit disappointing lately. He's 8.4 today, and then Kawhi at 8K. I know you don't love playing Kawhi, but you got to kind of like playing Kawhi when you've got everybody out, right? In a terrible defensive team like Portland.
I don't hate playing Kawhi either. I like him in a cash format where you need that floor, and I think he's safe tonight. I still don't see a massive ceiling. Just what is wrong with the Spurs? I don't want to get off subject, but do people think these guys actually have a chance in the playoffs? You watch them and they're just not good. Like, they have so many old guys that just suck. Like, yeah, Kawhi's good, but literally who else do they have on that team that is good? Like, no one else on the team scares me at all. Besides
their second team is just awful. I mean, it is. I mean, Simmons is like this crazy athlete, but he's such a bad like basketball player. He's not a good player at all. And like, I mean, it's funny because I think guys like Manu and guys like, and I know you hate him, but Aldridge, like, they can play good like once a week, you know, but there's no way in a 7-game series that team's gonna make it. And
they need to get rid of Aldridge. Like, it's not happening.
It happened 2 nights ago for my teams, and they did pretty well.
Aldridge?
Yeah. We'll get to him at power forward in a minute here. I got a few names for you. You know, I'm not playing Chandler Parsons on FanDuel at 4-5. He's 3,400 on DraftKings. He's starting against Houston, but the minutes are really, really low. Probably don't need to do it on a 14-game night, but I'll tell you, soon enough, there's going to be a Chandler Parsons day where he goes for 30 fantasy points or 35 fantasy points, and he's like 3K. So I don't know if that's tonight because it's only his second game back.
Not going to be tonight either. Like, his minutes are a hard cap right now, I think.
Yeah, but it's going to happen, in the next week or so. So just kind of pick your spots with him. I was not on Justice Winslow last night. Were you?
Yeah, I was somehow. I mean, he was big. I mean, yeah, I was huge on him and Dang yesterday, and I like them both again. I mean, they're sitting in that mid-range. They both, and Bazemore for that matter. I mean, all those guys in that 4.7 to 4.5 range on FanDuel, all three of them just look really juicy. And yesterday was the day, though. I mean, all year I've been talking about Ingram just being skinny and just not ready. And then I pictured Winslow like tough. Like, he's just the opposite of Ingram. I knew he was going to just destroy that guy out there. And it was just a perfect matchup for Winslow yesterday. I mean, just perfect for him.
Well, it's funny because I went a different route with Miami. I went with James Johnson, and
it worked out too.
It worked out great. And it's funny because I played him, and I saw like he was not owned by. He was like, in 50-50s. I think I was like the only one who had him, and I'm like, kind of when you get on that island, you get a little bit nervous. You're like, oh man, like what did I miss? And a lot of the sharp guys went to Winslow, but it worked out. He had 36 fantasy points in 25 minutes. Both of these guys shot the ball way better than they're probably going to most nights. I mean, you look at, James Johnson 8 for 11 isn't crazy, but Justice Winslow, I mean, my goodness, this guy, I don't think he's going to do what he did last night. I think people are going to chase him. I agree he's okay. But the guy is not a 10 for 16 shooter. He's not an 11 rebound guy. He's not a 4 steal guy. I just think it all came together for him yesterday. And I just warn people, like, I think you can shave like 15 points off that. And yeah, that's fine at 33. You'll take 33 fantasy points at 4,700. But I think that's more his ceiling. I think that's more his ceiling than what we saw yesterday. I think that was just an outlier.
He's just too cheap, though, is the issue. Like 4.7 just is too cheap, I think.
But do you like 21 to 23 fantasy points at that number? Because that's what he gives you more times than not. 21, 23, 20, 22, 22, 25, 23. Like that's
what my boy the Hoop keeps teaching me, though. Like in these cash games, if you can lock in that for these cheaper rates, lock in 23. Like I think you're fine with 23 from him.
I guess in cash games.
I told you right now in your cash games you could get 23 for 4,700. You wouldn't take it?
I guess.
You would gamble for more?
No, I mean it's like who'd you rather have? Dang against Orlando or Winslow against New Orleans?
I love Dang right now, so it's tough. I mean, I'm gonna take Dang just because Dang's probably my favorite guy at the small forward. I just love Dang right now. Like I loved him last year when he was in this kind of role. I mean, when he starts at the 4, he's just a great player. I mean, he just makes sense. Last year, he crushed all year in the 4. In the 4 right now, I just love him. I mean, he's playing 34 minutes at the 4. If he continues to do that, he's going to play on my team every time until he's like 6K.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt when you've got Randall out. That's just more work for him to do on the boards. And I'm with you. I think I like Bays more. I actually think I like Bays more, especially when you factor in ownership. I like him, I think, more than Winslow, because I think Winslow is going to be really high owned tonight. And not a great matchup. I mean, Winslow, he's playing the 4? Like, he's going to get AD. Like, that's the matchup there. That's not a good matchup for him.
They're not going to match up, are they? There's no way.
Well, who's it going to be?
That's like one of the weirdest matchups ever. I mean, it's going to be someone else. James Johnson. I mean, I can't think of who Miami. Who's Miami?
They've got their big, who's going to be on Ajinça, Whiteside, and then Josh Richardson, Goran Dragic.
He'll be on. It's an interesting. I got to think about him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just can't picture AD guarding Winslow though. Like that's a strange matchup.
Let's see a few other names for us here. Again, man, there's just so many here today. It's just crazy to look at.
It's hard, like you said. I think it's much funner for cash games than.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a game stack night. Like we talk about game stack nights, but don't ever game stack on a 14-game slate.
I don't think you need to. No, definitely not. All right, let's get to power forward here. I think AD today, again, some people don't like to play this guy. They get nervous playing this guy, but we'll be able to make him fit. We got him projected at like 53 tonight, 11-7. He's expensive, but plenty of value to make it work if you want to pay up. But in terms of like other, guys out there, Draymond 7-9 against Detroit. Again, he's got the old narrative going back to, I think he's from Flint, Michigan, played at Michigan State. So probably the friends and family. And did his wife have a baby? Is that what he missed? Does he have the baby?
Yeah, Draymond. Yeah, his wife had a baby yesterday. Draymond Jr.
Is that it? Is it Dre Jr.?
Yep.
Oh, wow. The least shocking name ever. Millsap 8-3 against Denver. Can sign me up for that a little bit here. That guy has been really, really good. And I don't think it matters if Howard plays or not. I think it helps if he doesn't, but he is fine. Jokic was the big letdown a couple nights ago. I'm trying to see where we got his salary back here today. It looks like 6'7". They bumped him up a little bit. I think he was like 5'9" on FanDuel before. 6'7" against Atlanta. What do you do with the Joker here?
I was going to say, so this gets a little more into game theory and my side of like how I would build teams on this slate. But like I like to get a differential play that I don't think people are going to be on. And I think Jokic, with the price increase to 6'7", I think people are going to be scared off him. He had one bad game. It was a tough spot, back-to-back versus the Clippers on the road. Really tough matchup for him. He just played bad. And he got moved to the 4 games ago. He's been starting at center, which gets him back in his comfort zone. And, one of my buddies is a beat writer for the Nuggets, so I talked to him, and I just think Jokic is locked in right now. So I really think he's going to be one of my key plays of the night. Own him close to 100%. Oof. And just really get above the field there. And I think he's in just a great spot. Dwight Howard might sit again, I would think. And even if he plays, I don't care. I like that matchup for Jokic no matter what. And he's going to be so low owned on this slate that just in my mind, I want to load up on him. And then David Lee is like just the easiest play of all time tonight with these Spurs out. So just kind of pair those two and then kind of mix in some other guys like Harrell around them. But Jokic is going to be one of my key low-owned guys of the night for sure.
Yeah, David Lee, he is really
just a free square, isn't he?
3,600 probably. I know you won. I think he was on your 50K team that you had a couple of nights ago.
It was the same spot. It's just a free square.
Well, him and then, Thomas Robinson against Orlando is kind of interesting too. He didn't start yesterday. He is at 3,600 and he's always like a price per or a point per minute monster, and did it again yesterday. 26 fantasy points in only 18 minutes. Grabbed 12 rebounds, scored 8 points. If somehow they would move him into the starting lineup over Ingram, which makes way more sense. Like, think about the matchups here. Like, what are they going to do? They've got Biyombo. They've got Serge Ibaka. I guess they could put Ingram on Ibaka because he kind of floats around the outside. But
the issue is they're actually being smart for developing. Like, they're not playing their better guy right now to develop their guy a little bit. Like, Ingram obviously isn't better right now. We all know it. But we always complain about this with other teams. Like, just play your guy and let him develop. And, like, obviously, Thomas Robinson probably murders Ingram in practice right now.
Oh, God.
Probably literally just crushes him. Like, he's got a man body, and Ingram has, like, a 8th grade boy's body. Like, it's just – it's not fair physically.
I just think he's a bust. I know it's not the cool thing to say. I mean, it's early. He's young, but like I looked at Wiggins his first year, and like he wasn't great, but you could still see it. You know, you could still be like, this guy's gonna be pretty. Like I can see him being a really good player. I have not seen anything from Brandon Ingram to this point that makes me think he's going to be a really good player. Even when he makes shots, they're like crazy. They're like crazy, like turnaround jumpers.
He hit one of those yesterday where he went to the post and kind of banged a little bit and shot this turnaround bank shot that was pure. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was pure luck.
And then Rose said, "Oh man," or no, not Rose. Reggie Miller, the worst commentator ever. Man, he really went down and took advantage of that size in the post. And I'm like, he just shot a lucky bank shot. That wasn't taking advantage of anything.
Yeah, I just don't like him at all. Back to the games here. A few other guys to consider. Okay, you hate Aldridge at 6'5" against Portland. I'm okay with him here, but I'm always okay with him. But you're always going to.
You seriously like? I'm being serious. You seriously like him still? Like you play him?
I played him against Houston, and he gave me 38 fantasy points.
Versus Houston, though, like with no bigs.
Well,
like
Portland's the same way. He's gonna eat. He's gonna eat against those guys. Just telling you.
38's like his ceiling too. Like
that is admittedly like
and 38's your ceiling, and 20's your floor. Oh, on a 14-game slate, if you play Aldridge, you should just light your money on fire.
Oh wow, hot take.
There's no way you play. There's no way DB plays Aldridge tonight. No chance. On a 14-gamer with David Lee and Thomas Robinson.
See, Tony, what you're doing now is you're telling me what I'm not going to do.
I know your weaknesses. I mean, we do.
And I think you know me how I work. Where if you tell me something I won't do, then I will absolutely do it. Like it's my weaknesses now.
I don't want you to lose your money, so I'm not challenging you.
There we go. Don't challenge me.
I mean, I want you to play Aldridge, DB.
Okay. Now you're starting to figure it out. I'll tell you, Ibaka's actually been playing pretty well lately for Orlando. Again, not a guy I love, but 35, 36 fantasy points against the Knicks in Miami. Had a 40 against Brooklyn, a 37 against Atlanta, 35 against Denver. So, what's that?
Same price as Aldridge, I might add. Just a much better play.
And against the Lakers, very plus matchup. Play them both. Just joking.
I love Ibaka. Seriously, like I don't like him I've never liked him in the past.
Yeah.
But right now, lately, I mean, he's getting 35 minutes and he's been putting up 35 fantasy points for the most part. Like he's just a good play, and he's never owned. Like on a 14-game slate, what's he going to be? 3% owned?
Probably with the value with David Lee and Robinson potentially having the low ownership, AD on the high end.
This was the Christmas spot for AD last year, right? I'm pretty sure that he went just bananas on Miami last year on Christmas. I remember watching it, and he was just going crazy.
All right, last spot for us. Let's get to the center position, and then we get to talk to my kids a little bit. So that'll be fun. I want to hear Tony talk to my kids. That'll be exciting.
I talk to everybody. Like you just treat them normal.
All right, let's see. Hold on, getting my projections up here. Okay, center spot tonight. Oh man, my computer is. I need to get one of those new MacBooks. I saw Empire Makers buying everybody. That
was the best tweet of all time, by the way.
Yeah, I need one. My computer's moving way too slow here today.
Empire could send that tweet that instead of buying Christmas presents, I'm just going to buy everyone a MacBook. I mean, that's why it's EM2 GOAT.
All right, center spot tonight. Do we know what's going to happen with Embiid? I mean, I'm assuming he's playing today. We've actually got Okafor as our top price per point guy on the FanDuel projections on RG today at 29 fantasy points against Phoenix. I don't think I'm going to go there. DJ at 7,400. They kind of are jacking up his price a little bit. It's weird. Centers, outside of Boogie Cousins against Minnesota and Karl Anthony Towns in that same matchup, I'm not sure if there's much that I'm feeling great about here today. What do you like at center? What do you got?
First of all, up top, like Whiteside's been my guy all year, but he's finally almost priced at 10K. That's where he's starting to lose his value a little bit. And I just, for me, as of right now, before stuff opens up later in the day, which I'm sure it will, and you could end up playing guys like Boogie later in the day, but as of right now, like if lineup lock was right now, I would play Dedmon or Mozgov at 3,500. Like, both guys are in good spots. Both guys are dead minimum, which lets you get guys at other positions. And I like the spot of both of them. I mean, Dedmon should get a huge boost tonight, and it's a really good spot for him versus Portland. And Mozgov, like you said, you played him yesterday. Same spot today versus Orlando. And, yeah, it's a little tougher matchup versus Biyombo and Serge than it would be with Vucevic. But he's going to get minutes versus Vuce too, so I love both of those guys at 35. Just a nice, safe value play at center because center I don't see a whole lot out there.
Yeah, I don't see an obvious play here. I mean, Biyombo finally had one of his big block games, 5 blocks yesterday, 28 fantasy points. And, of course, didn't do much on the boards, only 6 rebounds. But, again, we talked about the 10-point upgrade in expected total for Orlando today. So you could go back to that well. But I think Gortat at 65 against Milwaukee. I mean, we saw Tristan Thompson own the glass. Milwaukee is not a really good rebounding team with John Henson down there. And the hammer is not like a huge tournament upside because he's not going to get you like 50 fantasy points. But as the Hoopster apparently taught you, like if you can lock in, 30 to 35 at 6,500, do it. I feel like we can lock in 30 to 35 for Gortat tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a Gortat guy, I guess. My issue with Washington is I just don't feel like they played through him. Imagine if a team played through him a little bit. He does always end up in the 30s, like so many times. I don't know if I've ever played Gortat, to be honest. Like he's just not
never played Gortat ever.
Sure, I have here and there, but and then he always so many times, at least once or twice a month, you see him end up on the winning team though, as far as one of the tournaments. So.
He's just not an upside guy. Like, if you're not used to playing guys with just limited upside but certainty, like that's usually not your style. Like you're big tournament
guy. Probably why
guy.
I've never played him.
Exactly. But even for just 500 more, Embiid is probably a better play against Phoenix because I think some people are gonna like bail on him because 3 of the last 4 he's been under 25 fantasy points. He had that 150 burger against Brooklyn. But this feels like against Phoenix, another spot. I mean, Chandler's okay defensively, but he's a good rim protector per se, but Embiid just does so much, younger, obviously. And I just feel like we've got him projected at 32, and I feel like that's pretty safe. It's funny because he got that minutes upgrade. You remember when they're like, oh, we're gonna cap him now at 29 minutes. And like, he hasn't really played that at all. Like he's gone to 28 like once so far. So the minute upgrade thing wasn't much of an upgrade, but he's kind of finally priced at that right spot. But I think you got to pick your spots, and I think this is an okay spot for Embiid today. I don't mind him.
So annoying, the minutes limit too. It's like the arms in baseball with pitchers. It just drives me crazy. Like I know what's going to happen. They're going to keep doing this, maybe even for the whole season this year. And then next year he's going to play full workload and he's going to get hurt. Like I don't want to say it, but it happens every time. Like it's just let the guy play. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Boogie Cousins, he had a bad game against Utah, kind of expected, but it's funny because 3 of his last 4 games haven't really been that good. 34, 40, and 34. Did have the 75 against Portland. So this matchup versus Towns, it's all right. I mean, I'd rather pay up for, I think, Anthony Davis tonight than Marcus Cousins. So we think Dedmon's going to start here tonight?
I don't know if he's going to. I don't think it really – with Dedmon, does it really even matter if he starts? I mean, he's going to play probably 18 to 22 minutes, and I think he should easily get you 18 to 22 fantasy points. I mean, it should be Should be easy. Just lock in 20 type, 3,500 value type play.
All right. It's that time. We're wrapped up. That's our NBA conversation. I'm gonna go get the kids. Give me 1 second. Let me go yell at them. Come on, 1 sec. Hey, come on, Aaron. Come here, Aaron. Maddie. You were.
And I didn't know what it was.
All right, come on around. Let me turn this. All right, it wouldn't be a. Let's see. There we go. Wouldn't be a holiday without bringing my kids onto the pod. Aaron, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hello.
Say hi to Mr. Tony.
What's going on, man?
I'm good.
So why don't you tell everybody who's your favorite basketball team? Got to get closer.
Well, my favorite basketball team is like the New Orleans Pelicans and stuff. Yeah.
New Orleans Pelicans. All right. And who's your favorite player? You got to get closer to the microphone so they can hear you.
My favorite player on the Pelicans is Davis.
Davis. All right. Maddie, what about you? Do you want to say hi to Mr. Tony?
No, thank you.
She said no, thank you.
There he is. Say hi.
Hi.
Can you what's that?
I was asking her how she's doing.
How you doing?
Good.
How about you learned a lot of songs in school. Can you sing a song for everybody? Can you sing one song? For all of our listeners, we've been doing this for so long.
A little short one.
A little short one? Okay, let's hear it.
I don't really want to sing it.
Just sing it. Why not?
I forgot all the songs that I learned.
You forgot all the songs you learned?
Uh-huh.
All right. So what do you want to say to everybody who's listening to our shows here on Roto Grinders? What do you want to say? Say something. What do you say this time of year?
I don't know. Mary and Joseph.
Mary and Joseph. No, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas. All right, Aaron, you want to say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas.
And anything else you want to say before we get out of here? What do you want for Christmas, Maddie?
I want a playset.
A play set? That's easy enough. Aaron, what do you want for Christmas?
Legos, an electric scooter, and Pokemon cards.
There we go. Electric scooter.
The list is getting longer.
It is. It is. Mm-hmm. All right, guys.
A couple days till Christmas.
Only a couple days until Christmas. You're right.
Two more days.
We got them talking, though. They're talking to get that Christmas flow going.
Tony, can you give Aaron real quick, because we're recording this via video. Teach Aaron how to do a windmill real quick.
Hey, let's see you do it.
Let's see your windmill. There you go.
Oh, yeah, you got it. That's what you're going to be doing on Sunday for your dad.
That's Saturday. Get it right.
Saturday. I see. I'm saying it wrong now too. It is Saturday.
Yep. So we're going to win $1 million this weekend. That's the plan. Can you do it?
What?
You got a windmill.
You got a windmill.
It's in contention.
Okay.
Then once it gets real close, you show them how to chainsaw it.
Then we do the chainsaw. Can you do the chainsaw?
Oh, yeah, you got him down. He's already showed you these, hasn't he?
Yeah. We'll if this amounts to anything this weekend, we'll get it all on video for everybody. But
I've mostly been doing the windmill for a long time.
I like that. No wonder. I knew your dad had a secret move. It's a secret move.
All right. Hey, everybody, want to thank you so much for listening to the podcast throughout the year. We'll be back. I'll be back after the new year for a whole, basically go back into rotation of what we're doing. I'm pretty sure Stevie's going to be doing Morning Grind next week, so you should be able to have all those podcasts for you. Grinders Live, everything else is going the same. I'll still be around with those, but just going to take my mornings off for the next week. Tony, Merry Christmas. Good luck to you this weekend. Win all the giblets. Do some windmills. do some double chainsaws.
Double chainsaw only comes out every once in a while, but I hope it comes out Saturday for one of us. I mean, the double only comes out for the big hits.
Oh man, I'm still not to rub salt in the wounds, but we had an opportunity for the double chainsaw last weekend.
Yeah,
man.
don't even bring it up. And I finally stopped thinking about it. Like I didn't even realize it, but when I sent that picture of the stuff I was pulling out of my bag, I didn't even pay attention. But of course, it had Breeze, the number one guy on there. Like,
of
just
course,
rubbing even more salt in the wound.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. For Tony, I'm Dan. Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
There you go.